I'm Jonathan Hayes of the St. Louis Battlehawks, and this is the XFL Show.
If you smell what the XFL is cooking.
Welcome, football fans. This is the week of January 16th, 2022, on the road to kickoff 2023. This is For the Love of Football, and this is the XFL Show. I'm Alan.
And I'm Bryant.
It was one Rock, two Mannings, and three fanny packs on Monday Night Football. The biggest audience to hear Dwayne Johnson speak about the XFL yet. What was said and what is next? This is episode 205, the Monday Night Rock. Also the Rams show, Bryant, congratulations. The Monday Night Rock show, though, on the Manningcast. Big night for XFL fans, and we got the news that news is coming.
It was two Mannings, one Rock. Don't Google that for kids. But either way, I think it was what I don't know. We'll talk about it. It's fine. We waited for it. We had a lot going on. Alan, you're in some other location. I feel like you've been there before. Maybe. Can't really tell anymore. All I know is that
where
I think that's
in
Alan.
the world am I doing XFL show from?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm in a new location. Wildness. It's coming out now. This show probably, I guess, technically on a Tuesday morning. Because we waited to hear that news, and we're going to break it down, what The Rock said on Monday Night Football, and, of course, everything you need to know XFL-wise from the week. But just remember that we are 56 weeks away from kickoff next year, Bryant, and we need to be prepared. We need to be ready. We need to be doing these shows every week, whether it's right on a Sunday or maybe a couple days after, just because we want to wait and see if news actually comes out because we're being teased. We're getting it done either way, and we're here with you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us. 724-5654-XFL is the XFL fan line for you to call or text, leave a voicemail, interact with us there, or at XFL Show on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you social media eyes. Were we in the metaverse yet? Are we in the metaverse? Can we do that yet? Are we there yet? The metaverse?
I don't know what the metaverse is.
You know what the metaverse is? Oh,
No.
man,
Is that a Marvel thing?
No, it's not a Marvel thing, and it's a real life, but not real life thing. I have to explain that to you and Dune. You got to catch up. The listeners have been waiting for us to get into all that stuff too. It's coming. I'll explain that to Bryant, but we're not in the metaverse yet. We are on all the other social media platforms at XFL Show. Man, one day when we're in the metaverse doing a show, it's going to be ridiculous. Yes, all your favorite podcast apps.
Oh,
Don't forget to subscribe. Oh, is it an app? No, it's not an app.
Because you know who would put us there
Apple.
if it was?
Who would help us get on there? It's easy. It'd be so easy to do if we ever get the inclination to be in the metaverse. All we have to do is tell our great sponsors, hey, hook it up, and they do it because that's what they take care of. Pretty Easy Podcast bringing you this week's show, and you can get all your podcasting needs and assists, all the help you could possibly ask for when recording a podcast from Pretty Easy Podcast. And you just go to the website, prettyeasypodcast.com, sign up today. Just reach out, say, I need help. Whether you're a longtime podcaster, brand new to it, doesn't matter. And it's going to be at an affordable rate. It's all the help you could possibly ever ask for, seriously, when podcasting. Get up on all the platforms, sound great, get recorded. Don't worry about, your internet going out or their internet going out. They're going to always have you covered with backups and that. It's just a big help. And you just got to go to, again, prettyeasypodcast.com, and you could get started right now. Or if you have a friend who has been wanting to podcast, tell them about it. prettyeasypodcast.com.
Because they make podcasting pretty easy. So easy that they make it easy for you to go and tell your friends about it. They have social media. They have a website you can go to. Go check it out. It's so easy. So easy that Alan does it every single week because I never do it.
Yeah,
Alan
it
Alan
is
talks to
easy,
them
but
more than
not
I do.
not easy enough for Brian to actually deal with them. But they don't want to deal with them because they like me so much anyway. So that's how this thing works. It's what we're comfortable with now. We're on 205 episodes. We've got like our way of doing things. You've got it, and where was that? So that means we're more than 200, barely more than 200 days away.
Greater than 200.
Greater than 200 days. Yes, that'll be
No.
changing soon.
Greater than 200 episodes. This was my 200 episode sign.
Oh, that's the episode counter. So you're not even counting episodes anymore. You're just getting lazy with it.
Well, I've been getting lazy with it. No.
Yeah.
It was just easier. Fixed it.
All right.
Someone called it out, so I fixed it.
Maybe we'll
Now
rearrange that place.
Now it's right forever.
I'm going to be up in that studio soon.
It's
Like,
right
I don't
forever
know,
in 100 years.
It is true. But I'm going to be in that office, in that studio pretty soon. So maybe we'll do some rearranging. I'll help you out.
Okay.
Get it looking fresh. We got to get it looking fresh, especially with announcements coming in 2 to 3 weeks. We do need to make some probably
2 to 3
changes.
Weeks.
Like, soon. It's not.
Closer
It's almost as close as the USFL season coming up. We'll get into
first,
that
the
too.
Kickoff of the USFL or the announcements of the XFL.
That's actually a fun bet we could maybe make. But let's think.
We do have a bet, by the way, that I'm cashing in when you show up to XFL Studio West.
Okay. Yeah, we did bet on the
You
Penguins
lost.
and Kings game this week.
What was the score of that game?
6-2, right?
Yeah, 6-2.
Yeesh. Yeah, I owe you on that one. Well, that'll be coming on a future episode, I'm sure. All right, dinking and dunking around XFL social media. First of all, NFL playoffs going on. Snooze. Lame. Terrible. What? Seven teams in each conference is just watering it down. I'm telling you, you're watering down the product.
You're just following.
I'm a 7-seed fan of a team that got in. I mean, they didn't even deserve it, really, when you think about it.
We get 2 extra games, whether they're duds or not. The other 4 games would have happened. It's not fixing the other 4 games.
I don't know why you're adding games when you can't even get the referees to spot the ball properly. You're right. Until they lose money from the poor rule books they have in the NFL, they're not going to care and just have more games. So if you watch the Cowboys and Niners and you were an XFL fan, you maybe chuckled, unless you're a Cowboys fan and you just felt horrible. But everybody on social media that knows about the XFL was kind of just showing some respect to Sam Schwartzstein or all the XFL football ops people that put together the great rule book of 2020, because in the XFL, what happened at the end of that game, Brian, would not have happened because they
probably would have ended the game early is probably what happened.
Oh, well, that's one instance that did happen.
Sam Schwartzstein it is kind of funny because
he said in the XFL, we had a designated ball spotting official that solves this problem. Of course, the problem of the official not spotting the ball in time for you to get a big play off to spike the ball or just throw it downfield. So, yes.
If I'm not mistaken, the designated ball spotter is not really the fix here so much as it is because I think he was even further back than the officials were after he spotted the ball. Like he would spot the ball and then go like 15 yards behind the referee.
I remember you getting frustrated watching games because this ball spotter had to take time to get out of the way after spotting the ball before they allowed them to snap the ball. But still, you're not going to worry about referees having their butts in the faces of centers and quarterbacks or doing the thing where you're walking and someone's walking towards you and then you go left and they go to the right and you go, oh, sorry. Oh, wait. Oh, thank you for the dance. Oh, the game's over. You don't have to worry about that in the XFL. So that was so bad to see in the NFL. Like, what are we doing?
But there was no rule change. I mean, there was no
that's
foul
just the
up.
nature.
It's just the way the rules are.
Exactly. But that just shows you how, like, they're even in the NFL as a vaunted league, there are rules that are just not smart as they can be. This is why we've had an entire league try to reimagine the game.
Unless you do the entire clock system that the XFL has, the ball spotter. So let's take out the clock situation, right? Because remember, the clock in the XFL would stop after every play and then would start 5 seconds after the ball was spotted. So once Dak went down with like 7, 8, 9, whatever seconds it was, the clock would never have started until the ball either snapped or 5 seconds have run off the play clock. So if you ignoring that, do you think the ball spotter would have gotten there any quicker than the umpire?
Definitely. Also, the XFL had more
the ball spotter is standing further back than the umpire.
But also, what do we call it? The last 2 or 3 minutes of the half. What were we calling
it?
The comeback period. Not worrying about this getting in the way of a fun comeback and a fair,
of course, very different
game.
It's very different.
Yeah, it's just these are smarter rules. But they're just smarter, more efficient.
Ask you're friends with Sam Schwartzstein. Ask him, because these rules are layered on top of each other. You can have a designated ball spotter and those rules because the play clock is 25 seconds.
No, yeah, in the NFL,
you change all those rules.
Yeah, you can't just throw a ball spotter in the NFL and then it fixes that. You're right. There needs to be additional fixes to the play clock in the system they're using. It just shows that it's maybe dated.
Why?
It's a dated rule.
One game. There are how many games are? Where's my calculator here?
How many games? How many games throughout the history of the league did people get screwed over by slow referees?
32 plus 16. There was 272 regular season games
16?
plus 6. 278 games this year in the NFL.
I'm with
one that had this problem. The NFL doesn't care.
Yeah, no, they don't. But I'm with CX Tyler on XFL.show who said, really hope XFL 3.0 keeps pretty much the same rules as 2.0. Couldn't have said it better myself.
You're on that side, really.
I want all the rules.
Being facetious. Really, no.
Yeah.
I
Did
know.
you know this?
That's all you ever talk about. Unless anybody. They're always first-time listeners, I'm sure. If you go back and you listen, Alan wants the rule book to stay as is. No touch it. Don't touch it.
That's the T-shirt. You can hook me up with my T-shirt. Don't touch it.
Don't touch it.
And on the back,
put a rule book in the back.
Yeah.
XFL rule book.
Yeah. There you go.
That was almost going to be my bet, was to make you pick 3 rules that had to go.
Oh, that's horrible. Sophie's choicing the rule book. That's rude. Jack on XFL.show had another interesting comment. That's our official website for the podcast, of course, the YouTube channel. I love this. Jack said, everything is already in place for the USFL. They just haven't announced stuff yet. Do you agree with that, Bryant? I have 2 words for that. Gene Chizik. There you go. That's proof that not everything's in place for the USFL. Rumored to be the Birmingham Stallions coach takes the UNC defensive coordinator position. Not unlike, didn't that happen in the AAF? Wasn't a coach
that
announced?
Happened like 2 weeks. Brad Childress.
Yeah.
Was supposed to be the head coach of the Atlanta Legends, if I'm not mistaken.
So there you go.
I
think that answers Jack's or that it's not even a question. That was a statement. That nullifies Jack's statement. Unfortunately, Jack, not coming after you, but why
haven't they announced the other 4 coaches? Jack, please tell me what they're waiting for. Call the XFL fan line. Comment on XFL. Why are they waiting on the other 4 coaches? Why on earth would you wait 2 weeks between these 2 announcements? Why are you on earth waiting? We don't know what rules they're going to play.
No,
we don't know the schedule. We don't know anything, really. Nothing. That's worse. He drank the Kool-Aid. He drank the USFL Kool-Aid. He saw a couple coaches. He saw a cool little TV partner, 2 of them. Great. Drink it. Drink it in, man.
I know why Bryant's upset. Of course, he's right for sure. But then I do think about what I've been saying and how this is just a TV show that they're promoting for the upcoming, I guess it'll be spring. And I don't want them revealing too much about the TV shows coming up in the lineup next year. Like I don't like trailers for movies. I don't know about you. I don't like the spoilers.
I'm not a big fan of trailers. You know what the best promotion to a movie ever was, to me personally, in my lifetime?
What?
Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Because what did they do? They just put up billboards across the country that said, "I hate you, Sarah Marshall." And they got everybody wondering what the heck was going on. Do you think that's what they're doing with the USFL? No. More football. And then that's all. It's just, ooh, what is this? We don't even know what this is. We're going to just see what it is because we don't really know what it is.
I like, really ambiguous. The ambiguous marketing of the USFL. Who knows what it could be? The USFL
8 teams, one field.
Funny enough, is I think really for the common fan, probably by now knows as much about that league as they do about the coming XFL, which is not how it should be. I mean, when you're kicking off less than 3 months away, closer than ever. The league, people should know more details about your coming league than they do about the XFL, and that's to say, people really don't know anything about either league. I mean, we know 4 coaches for the USFL, which, I mean, blinked if you missed it for the USFL announcements of the 4 coaches. Meanwhile, The Rock goes on Monday Night Football, says the letters XFL, talks a little bit about it, and it's in the consciousness of football fans pretty much as those quick 10-second, 8-second promos that are playing now on Fox, and NBC started running them now too. Obviously, that'll be changing quickly. The USFL promotion is going to ramp up. But again, another week goes by, Bryant, and not too much
Why hasn't
USFL
it ramped up? Why? I don't understand.
Information. You're right. I do not know, but they do have a draft coming. So what do you say we get into the cover 2 and we break it down formally and talk about your favorite upcoming spring football league for 2022?
I mean, if you leave me on this topic anymore, who knows? We might get banned, but it's fine. Let's talk about it.
Let's see how enraged Brian can get in this week's cover 2. So the draft is coming, and now let me get my spectacles on here.
Wait, you didn't tell me we were doing that.
So I can see just exactly. So
I used to have them, but the daughter takes them everywhere. Sorry, go ahead.
You gotta get a lock on that room, especially with all the information we're going to be keeping in there stored about the USFL. Actually, we know everything about the USFL. We're just not telling anybody. Jack was right on YouTube.
We signed NDAs.
Yeah, we're just kidding. So here it is. The memo from we're kidding. The memo from last week that came out was sent to the NFLPA agents or contract advisors on contracts for players, and the memo said that a player selection meeting was occurring. So it wasn't even called a draft in this memo, Bryant. February 22nd and 23rd, and that there are some eligibility requirements, including a player must have graduated in the year 2020 or earlier from high school. Yes, you're eligible. And also, you must sign a contract with the league before the player selection meeting for the USFL. Don't call it a draft. 38 men will be on the active rosters. They're going to have 7 player practice squads. Training camps begin March 21st. We're 87 days till kickoff, I think, as of this live on tape podcast, Bryant. So there you go. Some of the details on the upcoming USFL player selection meeting, which will be presided over by their new director of player personnel, Jim Popp, who spent years and years and years and years in the CFL as an executive with Montreal, Toronto, Grey Cup champion, but also, even more interesting, about him, Brian. Jim Pop, a consultant in Houston during XFL training camp of 2020. So a director of player personnel has been brought in for the USFL player selection meeting on February 22nd and 23rd. What do you think? How excited are you now for the USFL draft?
All right. Everybody
player
line up.
selection meeting.
Everybody line up. Shortest to tallest. Ready? Everybody count. Count up to 8. Count off. Go. I mean,
Is that
what is? Sure. The 38 men scare the crap out of me. That just doesn't
very
sound like
small rosters?
very small. I mean, that's your 22 active players, kicker and a punter. So that's what? 24. So that's leaves you for 14 men.
Maybe a lot of two-way players. DB's playing
cost
receiver.
cutting. Maybe, but does that not affect the quality of the play at all in your mind?
Oh yes, for sure. Yeah,
is that what I've been talking about since we've been having these discussions? Is the quality of the play? It's about the quality of the play.
Then there's the other side of the coin where the players are better. There's a lot of great players, FCS, FBS. They're apparently going to go after guys who are like barely even in college to
they're
join
basically
the USFL.
Going on. They're 2020 and earlier, so that's 2021, 21. The 2 years removed, so juniors and higher, or redshirt sophomores.
Yeah,
I don't know, Alan. What else? What can I say about this? It's not going to get me bashed for talking crap about the USFL.
I think you could just
here.
Be
I'll
honest
throw it back
say,
to you. What's good about this?
Well, they have a plan.
Mind you, hold on. Mind you,
that's good.
By the time we air our next week's show, we'll be less than a month away from this, with only 4 coaches
from the player selection.
Yes.
Yeah. The good thing, I'll say this: they have a plan. They know how they're putting it together, at least, and they've announced that. So give them that. But then, yeah, you're right. This does not help the quality of the play if you're going to be so short-staffed with that few. I mean, really, it doesn't seem like a lot, but like 7 more players would be a huge difference, just for the stability of the league and also in the quality of the play. Who knows with injuries? And then, the fact that it's a player selection meeting and it's owned by the network that the league's on just doesn't feel, I don't know, fair. Right? Is anyone thinking about like how's that make sense? It doesn't feel like the draft's part of the competition. If you're calling it a selection meeting, it means like people not even involved. I could see this thing going down without a coach being. That could happen. We don't know who the other 4 coaches are. Could a team be selected, not drafted, before they even have a coach? It seems like a possibility. That would be horrible. It'd be really bizarre and kind of not fair.
I will say this. I do like that they're making him sign a contract before. We've talked about it multiple times.
Lock them in, yeah.
The XFL, a good chunk of their players didn't make it. Their first overall pick never played it down, right? So there's a positive there, but to see this being put together the way it is, I don't know, Alan. It's just, to me, it's let's get football on television, and I don't like it.
It is quickly and cheaply as possible. I mean, that's, I think, an honest way of looking at it. It is football, that's for sure. How good is it? How entertaining is it? That's to be seen. But if you follow it closely and then you see how other leagues have put it together, it's hard. Honestly, at least how the AAF put it together was it felt a little bit more exciting, interesting, and fair, and not as cloaked in mystery. It was cloaked in a stench of sleazy tech salesmen and whatnot. But like they had a legit at least it felt like a legit draft, and the teams were put together.
Well, they didn't really have a draft. They had that like allotment of team,
yeah,
like college. Like if you were
But
colleges of this, you would get assigned to the AAF whatever team.
Yeah, and that's fine. And this is
They really want those
players
New
being
Orleans
selected and placed on
waves.
certain teams has happened before, but there's just something about how they're going about doing this and how few players are involved. It's not as far from the spring league as I guess I've been hoping. Maybe that's how I'll put it. It's not as far from what the spring league was.
Is it close to 2.0?
Yeah. It's not your traditional spring football league where if they're starting from scratch, they have maybe some players selections, but a draft, and the competition should start before kickoff. That's what I believe with the teams. And there's not much of it yet because we don't even have the full staffs of these teams yet. We don't have coaches on half of the teams in the USFL. And another week goes by and we don't have that much information on the USFL. This is okay, but was hoping to get those coach announcements again and didn't. Like we always say, closer than by God ever, Bryant. Hopefully next week when we're talking USFL, we do have those 4 coaches, and I'm not worried about this player selection meeting because right now I'm worried. What are you grabbing? Stepping away from the mic. Oh, you're writing something I can hardly see because I got you in a real small window. What is it?
Less than 100 days. That's for the USFL right there.
87.
To me, you might be better off not having this player selection meeting until after training camp.
Just have a whole training camp. Nobody's on a team.
Like they do with like Little League. You just put all the players on one field and have them throw a ball, give them a grade.
Oh man, I hated that.
Give them a grade, and then everyone gets their selection of the top players and your bottom.
No, because then the players can befriend each other during the camp, and then all of a sudden they're on different teams and they break them up. It's terrible. I hated that feeling in Little League. That was the worst.
Well, the worst is when you wanted to be like a Dodger and they ended up making you like an Oakland A. Like,
oh yeah.
Why was the A's always one of the teams? I don't understand.
I mean, great uniforms. Probably. I mean, you played in Southern California. You probably had people who were fond of that team up there. I mean, that's just how it goes. That's how Little League works. Hopefully the USFL doesn't work like Little League. that would be bad. I don't like that idea, Brian. Hopefully these coaches are selecting the players
like the
for
green
their teams
gold game in our middle
training
school,
camp.
Alan.
Yeah.
You guys pick from the A through L's. We pick from the M through Z's.
Maybe 8 player captains will choose like the NBA All-Star game.
All-Star? Yeah. What the NHL did for a while too. I wonder if they're going to cut the field. Sometimes you played football during PE and you'd play the full field, but then sometimes they divide the team and then divide the field lengthwise, and then you'd have like 4 games going on at one time.
No, thank you. Vince would like that if it was all 7-on-7. If the USFL is going to be,
if you have enough roster, do 7-on-7.
I think if he were here, he'd say 38 players on an active roster. That's going to be a 7-on-7 league. It looks like. I hope not the case. Probably not. But my goodness. All right, USFL, come on, get it going. We want some more legit news. Get us excited. This is
legit news.
It is legit news, actually, but it wasn't really news. It was more of a memo, and that's part of their league building.
Well, I can understand why the USFL wouldn't want to make this an announcement.
Yeah.
Just how they're not making Birmingham an announcement.
Oh, wait, they haven't said that all the games are in Birmingham, Alabama?
So
that's my new oh, okay. Before we move on, one more thing. So that's my new thing too. Whenever I explain the USFL to people, like at a dinner or whatever, I was at a bat mitzvah this past weekend and talking about the USFL with some people, and they say, "Oh, really? That?" An older guy saying, "Oh, it's coming back," and someone else saying, "What is that?" I say, oh, it's great. Yeah, they've got 8 of the original teams. They're great. These are the team names. Pittsburgh Maulers are coming. I'm excited about that. They go, oh, you got a team in it. Cool. Yeah. All the games are in Birmingham, though. I save it for the end and then watch their faces go, wait, what? Why? That kind of turns people off. So I understand why they're not announcing it now. Doing my own mini experiment there.
Look, this is Fox, and we'll end on this. Well, I'll end on this. This is Fox wanting to put more football on television. I get it. This is also Fox making sure that it makes money for them. You got to remember the TSL didn't have a lot of viewers. I think they maybe maxed at like 200,000 at one point. Maybe. If that's the case, if let's say the Fox does 300, 400,000 for this, like I don't see them getting 1 million by any stretch of the imagination per game like the XFL was getting. So if that's the case, the Fox is eating all these costs. Maybe they got a little money from NBC, but this is Fox trying to save money where they can, and you're going to see more of this as we go along. Who knows what these coaching staffs are going to look like? Are they going to be full coaching staffs? Or are you going to have an offensive quarterback, offensive line coach?
Yeah. How many people can Todd Haley get on his staff with the Tampa Bay Bandits? We'll find out.
Remember the AAF had a global training staff. They had 4 training staffs, 1 for each game. They didn't have team training staffs. So, these are cost-cutting measures that I hate to say you're gonna see more of this. And this is kind of what I've been trying to warn people about, tell people about, that when you have the interests of Fox in this are completely different than Redbirds is in the XFL, than NBC's is in the USFL. That's why XFL 1.0 didn't succeed, because NBC's interest in it were way different than what Vince McMahon's were. And that's why NBC didn't want it anymore, because it didn't make money. Even though Vince was willing to kind of go at it again, NBC's like, no, we need the TV time. So when you have a network that is that invested in this, it just doesn't spell good for a league in terms of a budget.
Different motives. The motive for putting the league together is different than what the XFL ownership is trying to do, building a league for players. I mean, we had The Rock on Monday Night Football talking about that. We're going to get into it. It seems like that is genuinely motivation for the league to be propped up and set up for long-term success, for a place for players to come and do what they do. Whereas the USFL is a league being put together through using nostalgia and the popularity of the sport as a way to get solid rating, solid viewership, and having good live content, which is so important for a TV network. But the XFL ownership maybe isn't looking for that. Obviously, they're all looking to make money, but there are different motives and motivations for how they go about making the money and how they sell the league. And it's interesting to see the contrast. I'm happy we have another league to compare the XFL to, like we did with the AAF. It's a different story this time around, but I'm starting to believe we might start seeing the same result, at least for the not XFL league, because I don't know how long-term success can come about a league that's cutting corners. I don't know, as a fan, I don't want to see too much of that. And it seems like there's a lot of that going on with the USFL. But as we say every week, when we're critical of the USFL build, we want it to succeed. I want to see the USFL do well. I think it would be cool if both leagues were around long term. Is it possible? I would bet no. But obviously this season is going to go off without hitch, because look at all these great cost-cutting measures, Bryant. They're going to get it done.
Slash and just the budget. Look at that. We saved an extra whatever doing this. We saved yes. Awesome. Great. And I will point out that something that failed for the AAF that might be the doomsday for the USFL at one point is that people don't want to see a watered down NFL product. They want to see something different, which is what the XFL was. The AAF was a watered down NFL product. The XFL wasn't. So there's that.
You come at us with some different rules. That USFL rule book's going to be really, really, really something we can dissect. I can't wait for it. But we got to move on real quick. So let's talk about coaching and the status of coaching in the NFL and what it's going to be in the XFL. So currently the NFL has one black head coach, Mike Tomlin with the Steelers. We obviously expect some of these vacancies to be filled by the very qualified black coaches that are being interviewed currently. Pep Hamilton was interviewed not for a head coaching job, but for an offensive coordinator job with the Panthers, hoping to see him in an awesome role like that. That'd be cool. Instead of coaching quarterbacks that'll beat the Steelers, Brian, at least me personally. So that'd be awesome to see him go to the Panthers. But a lot of people are getting interviewed that haven't had jobs before. There are some black coaches that have had head coaching jobs that are being interviewed. But one that stood out to me that I think could be interesting for the XFL, Hines Ward was interviewed by the Texans. Now, was this obviously, unfortunately, something you always bring up this time of year? Are they interviewing this guy just to placate the Rooney Rule? Do they have a genuine interest in him? He is the Florida Atlantic wide receivers coach. Not too much head coaching experience, 0 actually for Hines Ward, but he's a legend. He does have a coaching job currently. Could you possibly
former executive for the AAF as well?
He was, yes. Could you see an inexperienced guy like that, though, actually getting a head coaching job in the XFL? Would you want it?
I think we've seen it at the max with Deion Sanders. I think, yeah.
That's as far as they can take it.
I don't see a Power 5 going, hey, we're going to take a chance on someone who's never. I mean, there's so many Power 5 schools out there that are just laughable, right? You could do like a Duke or something like this. Duke, even have a Duke, right? Duke's a Power 5. Maybe something like that. Some like low end Power 5 might do it, but that's about it. I can't imagine a high level Power 5 or even much less an NFL doing something like that.
And now what about the XFL, though? With 8 to 10, 12, however many teams there's going to be, do you think a Hines Ward or a Deion Sanders type, how he just came, said, I want to be a coach and got a head coaching job, do you think they would take the risk there? Is that something you would consider?
Deion's such a different species when it comes to attitude and the way he carries himself. So is there somebody out there like Deion
and for the
Sanders?
particular job he does, though, because he's a college football coach where really how much of it is game planning, which I'm sure I've heard he's an underrated game planner and game day head coach, but really the best asset is his recruiting. I mean, obviously he's a hell of a recruiter and is a great asset. So that's different in the XFL. Recruiting is going to play a factor, I think, because you are recruiting against the NCAA, the transfer portal,
practice
sticking it out for practice squads. Yeah. But also just winning is also going to be important, and having a quality football team is going to be important. So do you give someone like that, a novice in the profession, but with experience, obviously, in the sport, an opportunity like Hines Ward or one of the young? And it seems like the NFL's kind of going that route. There's a lot of young names out there that have just been position coaches or barely coordinators, and they're getting head coaching looks. See, like Gerard Mayo played linebacker forever in New England, is maybe going to be a head coach in the NFL soon, or at least he's getting interviewed. Like maybe that happens in the XFL. I say, why not? I mean, I'd say at least one team should be allowed to take that chance. They should place a guy like that if he interviews well enough, or they interview well enough.
In the XFL, I prefer someone who I don't know getting a shot than somebody that I know the name, but don't really know what they can do getting a shot.
You mean like someone you don't know who's been a head coach?
Yeah, like I wasn't too familiar with Kevin Gilbride or with June Jones or even Pep Hamilton. And these are 3 great coaches in this league that succeeded. And yeah, they made names for themselves. They were Pep is a former offensive coordinator, Michigan, the Colts, right? He was a name, but I didn't recognize the name, being who I am. And I'd much rather have someone like that get a job in the XFL than Hines Ward. Nothing against Hines Ward, not that I don't think, but I don't want the name. I want someone who's going to do a good job.
It's a interesting prospect. I think you can get. It's just like the AAF kind of did that, but they put them in executive roles instead of head coaching jobs, right? They took Jared Allen's name, Troy Polamalu, Hines Ward, and they put them in like executive roles or consultant roles and promoted that and try to get the rub off of being affiliated with the football icons. Putting them in head coaching positions different. It's a different animal, but I think there's a lot of guys out there that see Dion and he's probably influencing some ex-players with bigger names that maybe didn't think about it or want to work their way up. Hines Ward's working his way up too, though. Like he's at FAU as a wide receivers coach. Obviously, he has aspirations and he's doing the work to climb a ladder instead of skipping the line.
All these vacancies in Division I, Power 5, no one brought up Dion's name. Not to say that Dion would want to leave where he's at, but at the end of the day, people want good coaches with success. Not saying that Dion isn't a good coach or anything like that, but it's just kind of the norm, and I don't see that breaking. I think someone's going to take a chance on Dion before somebody takes a chance on somebody else in terms of higher level.
He's one of a kind, is what you're saying. It's very hard to find.
No, I'm not saying that it's one of a kind, but Dion was a test. He succeeded or is succeeding in terms of name recognition, recruitment, somewhat success. I think he won a conference championship, right?
Yeah, I'm more actually. As the more we talk about it, I like the idea, but I'm still always and forever, just like before. I like just the really old guys that I loved watching growing up getting another crack at coaching. That's my favorite kind of story, like a Jerry Glanville, or what do we get? Wade Phillips in there. There you go.
He's a great tweeter, by the way.
Get Wade Phillips in there or something like that. That'd be cool to see too. But no, it's just a thought.
Norm Chow was my favorite coach. Maybe we never talk about him, but he was just great. I had conversations with him. How many Monday Night Football conversations did you have with Norm Chow?
Yeah, none. I just live vicariously through you. I remember those days.
I remember Norm Chow asking me for advice on what I thought the league would actually do, how the league would actually do. It was great.
Wait, you think I should have taken this job?
He's like, you think this is good, right? This is good, right? Like,
I mean, you got the coach. Yeah, you're getting the coach Josh Johnson. That seems pretty exciting to me. I'd say he did it.
Yeah, you have to have Josh Johnson if you're going to get rid of Luis Perez, by the way.
I actually going to say that Josh Johnson could be a candidate as a coach in this league if he's not playing. Maybe a player coach. Would you allow
that's
for
what
a
USFL's
player coach?
doing? The other four are going to be player coaches. Yeah,
we'll see. Let us know at XFL Show. Inexperienced, zero head coaching experience, but big football name, someone well respected. Would you say it's acceptable for someone like that to be a head coach in the XFL?
All these players know how to do the job. Don't get me wrong; they've been around head coaches their entire playing lives. They know how it works. They know how to do it. That's not the problem. But when it comes to schemes, take a chance on and
I think we'll see one.
I think the XFL or any spring league can't afford to minimize their quality of play by taking chances like that.
And so I love the strong opinion.
I think that there's easy wins, and I think that's one of them in terms of your quality of play. Is just hire a decent coach, one with somewhat of an experience.
Plenty of them out there too. We'll see who gets the gigs.
You talk about players out there. There's plenty of coaches.
Yeah.
Tons of coaches out there with plenty of experience.
And by 2023, depending on when they actually hire those people, plenty more will become available. Obviously, we're in a cycle where it's getting reshuffled. And then this time next year, when we're talking XFL kickoff in less than a month, we will know those names. That's crazy. We're less than a year away from knowing the coaches in the XFL. That's a good feeling. And I'm confident.
Not if you're the USFL.
Yeah, I'm confident saying that about the XFL, not the USFL so much. There you have it. This week's cover 2. If you want to react to any of what we talked about and the questions we were asking back and forth here, let us know at XFL Show. Call that XFL Fan Line. Love to hear some of the opinions on that one too. Hines Ward as an XFL coach. Who knows if he'd even want it? I think Antonio Brown. Maybe he'll be the player coach going off of his. What he said last week. Never mind. I shouldn't have even brought him up. My bad. Let's move on to the main event. Obviously, Monday Night Rock was what it was all about, why we moved the show back a little bit. Wanted to see what he said with the Mannings. He said some things about the XFL indeed. What were they, and where do we go from here? Let's discuss in this week's Hot Read. So the great one, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, on the Manningcast, the alternate version of Monday Night Football from ESPN. I believe this was on ESPN 2. With the Rams and Seahawks Monday Night Playoff football game. The Rock joined the Mannings just to talk football, watch the game, discuss things. And, of course, as XFL fans, we paid attention first and foremost to what he would say about the XFL. And, well, he said some things, but I'll be honest, it wasn't a whole lot in terms of new news, but interesting enough that he was able to be on this platform and speak XFL to the biggest audience he's probably talked about the XFL with anywhere other than his own Instagram. And millions. Yeah, you think actually more people probably do look at The Rock's Instagram than they do the Manningcast? Do you think?
But I think this is the most, when you talk about
it's newsworthy if it's said on
demo.
Here.
The demo here is football. His Instagram has a much wider demo.
That's true.
You want to hit that demo as hard as you can, and that I think this was better than his Instagram.
And it's a huge platform for Dwayne Johnson. And he said, quote, "As an XFL owner, my number one goal, my number one priority will always be the player and to take care of the players and create these opportunities for them." Going on to talk, and he even asked the Mannings what they thought of the XFL and brought it up, and they went back and forth briefly with The Rock ultimately saying announcements are coming in 2 to 3 weeks on the XFL, which means that'll be about the time of the Super Bowl, or once we're in big time playoff mode with championship games. So football's gonna be on the mind for in the nation over the next few weeks, and the XFL is probably going to get a piece of that and make an announcement, according to Dwayne Johnson. But the Manningcast discussion on the XFL, Bryant, I know you're happy with the Rams win. Ramit, were you disappointed though with no breaking news delivered by The Rock? I was half expecting him to say, "All right, before we go any further, guys, I have something I want to tell the world," and he did not do that on this platform.
It's a double-edged sword, I guess you could say. So, am I disappointed? Absolutely, I'm disappointed. Why? Because I wanted more news, flat out. That's just why. Another reason why the other reason why I'm disappointed is because the XFL retweeted this, making you feel like some kind of news was happening. Again, maybe my fault, maybe all of our faults. The XFL's just trying to get the news out there. They're The Rock. This is what they do. This is what The Rock does. He draws eyeballs. That's what the XFL's planning on. So, am I disappointed? Of course, because I wanted more. Is it unexpected? It's like Valentine's Day for a man, right? Like, you're disappointed because you didn't get that, the value, right? Like, you got to get this diamond earrings, and you hope for something the same value, but you really don't. You get something like down here. Disappointment, but it's also expected. It's just how it is. That's what I thought this was. It was just expected. It wasn't really. What was he going to say? Come out there and say that this was ESPN's, our TV network?
I mean, it was, I think, the highest of high hopes people had, maybe that's what would be announced. Not surprised it wasn't.
On ESPN2, secondary to a Monday Night Football game, like
that's
a Monday Night Football playoff game, like.
Put in perspective, you're right. It's the first ever Monday Night Football playoff game. It's on their alternate. I mean, that's not a good look. You make this big announcement on the alternate broadcast of a game too. Yeah, so that's understandable. But the fact that he said coming in 2 to 3 weeks, he got it, like I said at the top of the show, into the consciousness of the football-loving public. And I mean, if you're watching the Manningcast, you probably really love football. More than the average fan, because that is a more detailed type viewing experience of a football game. I loved it all season long, but it's not the widest platform you can possibly announce it on, the biggest platform. So that's understandable. With that said, what comes in 2 to 3 weeks then? What announcements you think what are they cooking up?
I'll tell you this, man. I think I'm eating crow because The Rock came on television or on something. He said. Was it? I think it was a TV. It was on CNBC, right? I think it was.
Yes.
He said 2, maybe 3 months away, right? I think is what he said. And then the next time he made an announcement, it was about 1 to 2 months. Now the next time he's making an announcement is saying 2 to 3 weeks. You talk about painting yourself into a corner. He's tightening that time frame every time he comes out every couple weeks, and we might get something, Alan.
Well, maybe before he was underselling, and now he can over deliver, because when the 2 to 3 months was spoken, maybe nothing was locked down, and things have been locked down maybe behind the scenes over the next. Do
you think they're actually? I think they have everything in place already. Is they just haven't announced the stuff yet?
Don't go that far. Don't go like our good close person, long time dear good friend Jack on XFL.show on the USFL. Come on, I won't even say that as much as I love the XFL and I'm optimist, but I do think there are things that are locked down that they're going to be comfortable announcing in 2 to 3 weeks, and I'm going to go ahead and say that at least from what we've been teased, I think my prediction, and this is just a prediction, not a spoiler. I have no inside information other than the facts that we know and what's been said and trying to read between lines. I'm going to say TV network announced 2 to 3 weeks.
That sounds... Oh, so silent. Dead silence, huh? Bad. I get Pretty Easy Podcast on so they can cut this out a little bit. I don't think TV is what I want. I think it's what everybody wants, what sounds nice. But after what I've said about the USFL, it's just something to say, hey, look at this, because we don't know what's going on over here. If you're listening to the podcast, I'm holding up my hand up here like it's the shiny thing you're looking at.
The thing
really,
is,
what you don't want you to look at is going on over here.
If you announce a TV partner a year out, like if in the next 2 weeks, that still doesn't mean any more information is going to come out, and it's not going to be expedited. They're not going to reveal it much, and it might even get more frustrating, especially for people following it super closely like us, because then we're going to look at every promo, like you say it's ESPN, if they ran, and they're just going to run teasers like they do for the USFL that say really nothing, and they're just like fun marketing. But the marketing for the XFL a year out will be much more interesting than no more football. No more football. It's going to be. I don't think you'll be as frustrated if that happens, Brian. I think you should want that. It'd be different too. A year out, announcing the TV partner would be really fascinating.
It would, and that's what a
lot of room for fun promotion.
I want the skeleton. I want the structure of this league to be announced. Teams doesn't have to be where, how many. Making sure confirm kickoff. Right?
You want those January 2018 announcements. How many teams, how many cities, the basics that Vince McMahon announced when he just said the XFL's coming back. Yeah.
Maybe there's going to be a flurry of announcements. That's great. If you have them, give them. Anything to overshadow the USFL is great news. And that's not to crap on the USFL. That's just good business strategy. Make yourself look better and stronger and more appealing to players, to fans, to anyone, especially with the USFL. Maybe the USFL is lighting a fire under everyone's butt over there at the XFL, and that's why we're seeing all this happening. So there's a lot of different aspects that the USFL has when it comes to these types of announcements, because the XFL has a sight line, right? This is where the USFL is at. Where do we want to be? So I know you do say you never look at the competition, but sometimes you just can't help yourself. So TV deal would be great. I just liked how they announced the TV deal last time. I would like to have that again this time, where they announced the full schedule, what games were going to be where. They didn't announce the team schedules, but they announced like the network schedule, and that would be kind of fun. Would
you be disappointed if it was just one provider, one TV partner?
No. I don't know. Why would that be? To me, it's better. I don't have to go to Fox to watch the old XFL games and ESPN to go watch some old XFL games.
Yeah, it's
even though I have them all technically, but
yeah, it's another kind of idea, and there's different ways of thinking about it. You are exposed to more people if you're on multiple networks, but maybe it's
that's
easier.
Necessarily true.
Yeah, and also this day and age, I think maybe that's overrated, being on NBC and Fox and on CBS and all across your channel lineup. You'll be flipping and seeing XFL throughout the day. Some people just, especially this day and age, want this simplicity of, I just go to my ESPN app and I can watch the XFL all weekend. Something to consider.
Well, I don't want to eat. Yeah.
So if I'm taking a shot in the dark, that's my shot. I like yours too, though. I do want to know the bones. I want the skeleton of the league. I like that. Yes. And that's just really the day one stuff that Vince McMahon announced for 2020, because he came right out and said the amount of teams, how many weeks a season, how many cities, that basic information also is still needed. Let's be honest.
Yeah, because then we kind of start then the speculation really begins, right? Then the show has some fuel to the XFL fire that we have.
It'd be good
right?
for us too.
Yeah, 8 teams or 10 teams. How many are coming back? What are the new ones? 12 teams. Oh man, international.
Seattle, sound off. How bad do you want the Dragons to come back? 724-565-4XFL.
So I am pleased with the 2 to 3 week announcement. I'm hoping something actually happens. I love corporate people. I don't want to hear another corporate people announcement in 2 to 3 weeks. I want something more just the reality of the situation. Hey, unless part of those corporate people are you and I'm totally fine with that too, by the way.
Hashtag, we want our jobs back. And that does it for this week's Hot Read. But again, don't poo-poo that. Not a lot was said about the XFL, but the fact that The Rock was on Monday Night Football, albeit the alternative broadcast, but still millions and millions of viewers talking XFL to the biggest audience he's talked XFL with yet. Huge for the league. Awesome exposure. And I'm sure the league's happy with it, because now they are in the collective conscious, and we'll see what they do with it next week or in the coming weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, of course, with the announcement. Maybe we have to strap in. Maybe next week's like our last chill episode, Brian, before we have, lots of the speculation stuff you like to do, even more show prep than usual. Because I feel like this week, we do the show prep every week. We do a good amount. But this week was a little bit more relaxed than, some weeks where you get these big announcements, and those are coming. We keep telling you, be prepared. Dense shows, super heavy in terms of the amount of information to absorb and analyze each week. It's coming. It already feels that way sometimes for some, but it's going to get even heavier, Doc. So strap in. It's going to be a lot of fun.
That's going to be a lot of fun. And in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to have a lot of information. Hell, in the next 56 weeks, we're going to have a lot of information. And that's why you can catch us here every single Sunday right here on your favorite podcast app. That's Google, Apple, Stitcher, TuneIn, wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you give us that 5-star review and tell your friends about us. If you got a question, comment, or topic you want us to cover, well, call or text the XFL Fan Line 724-565-4XFL. Remember, standard text message rates do apply. Also, follow us on all social media platforms at XFL Show, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, the Meta Universe, right? Maybe, I don't know.
Metaverse. The Metaverse.
Thank you. Sure. Or if you want to come and say hi, subscribe and watch us on YouTube at xfl.show, the official website of This Is the XFL Show. And don't forget to check out our sponsors, Pretty Easy Podcasts. Go to prettyeasypodcast.com and get started today because they make podcasting pretty easy.
Man, I can't wait till I get you up on the Metaverse and Dune. The show's going to take off like a rocket. We're going to be...
And what was that show they had during halftime that they previewed? It was pretty cool.
What show?
Oh, I don't know. It was like some Disney show, I think it was.
On Monday Night Football?
Yeah, Monday Night Football during halftime.
Was it the John Cena Marvel show? Or DC show, I mean? The Peacemaker?
Was it DC? No, it wasn't that one. No.
Oh, I heard the opening of that show is fire. Got to see that too. We might have to have you and I might have to change the intro to the show from whatever it is now. What is it? Who is it? Like June Jones or Josh Johnson at the beginning of the show? It should just be you and I dancing. That's what I think. Moving forward, we'd have to film that new intro when we're in the same studio in the coming weeks.
Is it Moon Knight? Yeah, it was Moon Knight.
Moon Knight?
Yeah,
I gotta look this up.
Well, I think that was the one that they showed during halftime.
I wasn't paying attention during halftime. I was analyzing what The Rock was saying, analyzing everything for the show, prepping while you were just watching your team, advance in the playoffs. Woo, big deal.
Ooh.
I'm rooting for them, though. Honestly, I'm rooting for I think I'm rooting for the Rams.
Aaron Donald.
I think I'm going Rams all the way. That's my hope. That's what I'm rooting for.
Well, I mean, you have my full
support.
Arch nemesis Tom Brady next week.
Yes, anyone but Brady, obviously, but mostly the Rams. I'm going for. Definitely in the NFC, anyone. Definitely the Rams over everyone else.
You got the Niners and the Packers as well. No,
no, thank you. No Bengals.
Then,
I can't handle that. Obviously, the Bills are sentimental. I think a lot of America's rooting for them too, but not me. Go with the Rams.
And then who else you got? You got Kansas City and Tennessee as well.
Can't hate a guy who could throw an underhand touchdown, and also a team that lets a tight end throw touchdowns. Saw someone put Globetrotter music to the Steelers getting beat by the Chiefs. That was rough.
How good does it feel to see Odell playing this well with the Rams and never played this well with the Browns?
That's cool. That makes me chuckle. But I would like to end today's show saying thank you, Ben, for all you did for the Steelers.
Ben Runco? Oh.
That'd be Ben Roethlisberger for everything he did for the Steelers as he limped off into the sunset from Kansas City. I'm going to just make believe his last games. This is why I hate the seven playoff teams. He would have just gone out beating the Ravens, and that would have been a great way to end his career. Instead, he had to go get whooped by Patrick Mahomes.
I will say this shout out to Ben Runco, who I think was a middle school classmate of ours. That's the only other Ben I could think of. Ben
Runco.
Yeah.
Shout out to. I hope he's doing all right too.
Hope he's doing all right.
Whoever he is.
He's a good guy.
If that's an actual real person. Brian's memory's crazy, but sometimes I think he just makes things up. And if
I make stuff up, you wouldn't know that it's not made up.
It's true.
Like the time that I didn't select you for the football team in Gold Game.
That's not true ever. That's definitely not true.
It was soccer. Football. Soccer.
Oh, it was soccer. Okay, if it was soccer, I believe that. You definitely weren't a captain over me in football Americano or hockey. That's for sure.
Hockey, you barely picked me.
You did beat me in our Pens Kings bet. So do I have like a punishment or something coming on an episode coming up?
As soon as you get here, I have your punishment lined up.
Stay tuned for that, everybody, I guess. And, of course, I really want to hear some of the answers and responses to the topics we talked about today, particularly that head coaching, the positions to be filled in the XFL. What do you think? Let us know, and we'll get to it at the top of next week's show like we always do. Fun episode, though, Bryant. even though it had a little bit more USFL bashing than I wanted. But you got to do what you got to do.
Bashing is a bad word. Don't throw bashing out there. I think it was
honesty.
It was a proper dissection of what they have made available to us. Okay, it was a bashing. Fine, whatever.
USFL bashing time. There it is. I'm rooting for the league. Hopefully, we get big announcements for that league too this coming week.
I hope their mascot is a 3-boob woman.
Hey, dude, where's my football?
Sweet.
All right, you got anything else? Can we get out of here?
Oh,
we got to post the show. It's people been waiting for this thing already. We're 2 days late.
Don't call it a draft. Whatever you do.
It's not a draft. It's the 2 shirts we've got made from this episode alone. It's not a draft, and don't touch it. Leave it at that. For Bryant, I'm Alan. This is the XFL show. Remember, they're listening.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Fix that.
They're watching.